Hello, fellow alchemists. Welcome back to our little mini-series I guess we have going now. Again, the more and more I'm diving into the task module, the more and more I'm finding things in just standard Elixir that I didn't know I could do. So for instance, if you ever wanted to run kind of like a bunch of tasks and you need to, do it in a way where you're not kind of blasting off a bunch of processes and just destroying another service, because of course you can do that in Elixir, right? You can throw a bunch of processes up, millions of them if you want. You can just, blast a service. Well, there is some services that obviously don't like that because it causes a lot of strain on them. I always thought before that you'd have to use something like Pool Boy, where you had to actually pool all your resources. Well, within the task module, there's already something called async stream, and you can actually use async stream to do something similar to a Pool Boy, but of course, much simpler. So let me go ahead and show you what I'm talking about. So over here, I have a very, very basic IEX template going on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that I'm going to create a range of 1000 to 1100. Now, the reason I'm going to do that is that I'm going to use this function called Task.async stream. So what this does is it's kind of a little bit like a enum, where you just kind of go through and you just basically kind of map the beginning collection enumerable values to another value. But you do this kind of per process. So this would be great if you had like a bunch of emails in a list that you wanted to just send off each one. You can just put them in a list, send them to a task async stream, and it'll just go off. So I can just go to here, async stream, and I can do something like sleep for that amount of time. So again, this is 1 second to 1.1 seconds. And then I could just return that value. And then I can end it. And then finally, this is going to return a stream, right? So with a stream, you actually have to kind of kick off the process. And so eventually, I'm just going to do a very simple enum.each and just basically inspect it. So then you'll see that basically all of my tasks, you see they're going to be going off one at a time. And this is based on, the default's going to be based on the amount of CPUs or schedules you have online at the time. But you can actually change that. So let's say that actually I wanted to do this one at a time. So instead of it being like this, I'm just going to do 10, so it's much quicker. And so in the task async stream, you can say max concurrency and 1. So I'll just do one at a time. If it's a service I can't be too fast on. And you'll see each of these coming out one at a time. As opposed to before, it was one per my CPU scheduler. I think I have 8 cores, but I got hyper-threading, so it's like 16. So you see 16 coming out at the same time. The other thing you can do too, so if I bump up the concurrency a little bit, let's leave this alone, just take this out. What you can do instead of this is that you can also say ordered false. This will work great for things that may not finish in time, like synchronously. So this one finishes about the same time. I mean, because it's all about, the same number, etc. So it makes sense. But if you had some tasks which would take longer than others, and by default, it's going to go in order, so you get all your values back in order. If you don't need them back in order, like I said, you're sending off a bunch of emails, you don't really need those emails coming back to you in order, then it'll just go to the next one on the list, and then that way you won't have any kind of, you'll have more throughput theoretically. So this is really, really cool. Like I said, I think I'm going to start reaching for this for other things, instead of using something like Pool Boy or another method that I use where I just spin off a bunch of tasks using Task Supervisor and just saying start and waiting for them to come back. I think this is much, much better. There's other things you can do too, like if the task ever dies, by default it's going to take down your process, but you can actually say don't take it down. If a task takes too long, there's a timeout still, 5 seconds, similar to async. That's why it's async stream. If it takes longer than 5 seconds, by default, it's going to actually kill the calling process. If you can also set that to just be return an error or something like that. So it's much better. You can just kill the process instead of killing the calling process. So that's a little bit better, right? So if one task is just being, taking way too long, you can just say, okay, kill that task and keep going on. So that's really, really cool. So I think this task async stream is really, really powerful. And so that's why I wanted to kind of show you guys why you should really take a look at this task module, and also why you should take a look at async stream. And you may need to be able to pull this out someday. And I think this is something to really learn. So this is Alan from Plangora. Please subscribe if you haven't. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks.